Greetings. By virtue of your presence watching this video today, I want you to know that we consider you to be an extended member of our family at Unity in Linwood. We believe that you are an individualized expression of that one creative impetus which stands behind all life, and as such we celebrate the uniqueness which you are, and we celebrate our unity with you. We are glad you're with us. You have good friends. If you didn't grab this nugget of information, you are welcome to stay following this service and eat the lunch which you brought. We have a potluck following this event, followed by a 1 o'clock concert with Mark. And please visit his product table and take him home with you for a nominal fee. For 3 weeks, beginning next Sunday, our local humanitarian outreach ministry will collect new socks, new underwear, new clothing for men and women of the Everett Gospel Mission. If you bring it, there will be a receptacle ready to receive it. And if you have not visited our spiritual gift shop of late, we have a new vendor, and again, providing fair trade and or ethically sourced materials. I was in the shop this past week. I have to tell you, I was very inspired by some things. I thought I'd share them with you this morning. New items include hand-painted candles. They're actually signed by the artist, and luxury soaps encased in an exfoliating material, handcrafted metal work, and two of my favorites, items that represent a movement. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's called upcycling. Do you know this? Upcycling. Earrings, for example, made of soda cans. And my very favorite of all, a purse made of seat belts. How much do you love that? I've never owned a purse. Today might be my day. I don't know. A purse made of seat belts. We throw an annual gala event. It is an auction party. It is scheduled for this Saturday. If you have not yet made your reservation and desire to do so, today is your final Sunday. It's a $40 ticket. We have created a postcard of some of the date-specific events. It's available for you to peruse at the auction table in the back of the room. I look at this and I think, oh my, a Surf Crest condo stay on the ocean in the winter months. 'Twas the Night, a musical theater show and holiday party at the Kalfas home. Seattle Seahawks versus the Arizona Cardinals, including parking. Breakfast with Richard and Matthew. Swan Lake by the Pacific Northwest Ballet, that's in February. A Leavenworth condo stay, dinner and show with the Moberlys. Please have a look. It's a fun event. We would love to have you join us. That evening culminates with a musical performance by a dear friend of ours. His name is Jerome Johnson. Let's begin with our words of invocation. They were written by Charles Fillmore. They go as follows. I am now. I am now in the presence of pure being. And immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. I acknowledge your presence and your power. O blessed Spirit. In your divine wisdom, now erase my mortal limitations. And from your pure substance of love, bring into manifestation my world, according to your perfect law. Jean Vanier wrote, and this has really spoken to me of late. I hope it speaks to you. Community can appear to be a marvelously welcoming and sharing place. But in another way, community is the place where our limitations and our egoism are revealed. When we begin to live with others, we discover our poverty and our weakness, our inability to get on with each other, our mental and emotional blocks, our disturbances, our seemingly insatiable desires, our frustrations, even our jealousies. While we were alone, we believed we loved everyone. Now that we are with others, we realize how incapable we are, how much we would deny life to others. So community life brings a painful realization of limitation. The unexpected discovery of the monster within us is hard to accept. The immediate reaction is to try to destroy the monster or to hide him away, pretending he doesn't exist, or to flee from community, to flee from relationship, or to find that the monsters are theirs, not ours. But if we accept that the monsters are there, we can let them out and we can learn to tame them. This is growth toward liberation. I'm happy to be in community with you. Welcome to Unity in Linwood, an intentional spiritual community. The author writes, many spiritual traditions and practices begin with a single question: who am I? The question is a persistent and intimate companion. The search for our essence, for our identity is fundamental. It's as necessary for individuals as it is for nations, for tribes, for races, for spiritual communities. Who am I? Am I spirit or flesh? Am I sacred or secular? Am I irrevocably shaped by the circumstances of my personal history, or am I free to move and grow? Am I free to uncover a new and brighter path? Am I fragile or am I strong? Am I broken or am I whole? When I listen deeply to my innermost self, what is it that I hear? What is the substance of my soul, the core of my being? What is my true nature? And he continues, if we are unsure of who we are, we will live tentatively, always guessing where we should go and what we should do. But when we know who we are and we feel comfortable with ourselves, we can live clearly. We can live courageously. End quote. So welcome to our fall series. It's drawn from a book entitled, How Then Shall We Live? 4 simple questions. Now see, I thought that was funny. Simple questions. 4 simple questions that reveal the beauty and meaning of our lives. The great theologian Wayne Muller, of course. There are a few copies remaining in the spiritual gift shop. At least there were after the 9 o'clock service. Now, following each of these 4 lessons, you will have the opportunity to actively deepen our conversation through a facilitated discussion group at a geography or a time convenient for you. Although they are closed for today, ring the office if you would like to join one. Otherwise, grab the card. It looks like this. Partner up with a friend or two. Create your own group. What do you think? Since the writings of Freud transformed the landscape of human thought about the inner life, the human has tended to use the language of psychology to answer today's simple question, the first of the 4. So yes, the human has responded with answers akin to, well, I'm neurotic, or I'm a manic depressive, or I'm a child of an alcoholic, I am codependent, I'm an overachiever, I'm an addict. The human has responded with various iterations of, well, I am a product of family dysfunction, at which point we might imagine the combined voices of humanity rising in unison to say, well, join the club. And yet, while these diagnoses may be accurate in a limited sense, describing something of the formulaic aftermath of early trauma, perhaps, it seems self-evident that they fail to capture the enduring, fuller reality of what it means to be a human soul. While these diagnoses may be accurate in a limited sense, they are completely inadequate in a broader sense, or it might be said that, quite simply, they fail to answer this morning's question. And the same can be said of other disciplines. I mean, while psychology would perceive us and describe us through a lens of its own making, so too would neurology perceive us and describe us as chemicals and impulses, biology as structures and functions, economy as producers and consumers, anthropology as societies and cultures, sexuality as males and females, politics as voters and non-voters. While psychology would perceive us and describe us through a lens of its own making, so too would society perceive us and describe us as fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters. So too would society perceive us and describe us as occupations and vocations, accomplishments and achievements, capacities and capabilities, classes and categories. And we all do our share of it, I suppose. I mean, think about it. You're at a social gathering, if you'll imagine with me for a moment. Swanky dresses, feathered hats, and elbow gloves as far as the eye can see. And there are women there too. You see, I'm already trying to make a point here. I'm already trying to sneak that in there. And what's the question that rises in the first 60 seconds of these introductions? So, what do you do? What do you do? Society would perceive us and describe us as ethnicities, as geographies, as ages. And yet again, while these roles may be accurate in a limited sense, describing something of the unique paths by which we traverse this human incarnation, it seems self-evident that they fail to capture the enduring, fuller reality of what it means to be a human soul. So while these roles might be accurate in a limited sense, they are completely inadequate in a broader sense. Or quite simply, these two fail to answer this morning's question. And I suppose we all have our stories. As individuals and as collectives, I suppose we all have our stories of crippling defeat, stories of glorious triumph, stories of unthinkable iniquity, and stories of that amazing grace. My stories include that annual visit by my father and how I looked forward to those annual visits, those weekends always packed with the fun things that non-custodial parents engineer. Fishing and skateboarding and amusement parks and bacon sandwiches. Oh, how I remember the bacon sandwiches. My paternal grandmother standing in the kitchen in the dark early morning hours as we prepared for our bullfrog hunting expedition. Just going to let you imagine that for a second. And she asked, just how many bacon sandwiches would you like? Can you imagine a more glorious question? And then she actually prepared that many. And on that annual visit, I remember running to my father and throwing my arms around his neck, only to have him raise up so harshly that my hug was broken and I fell to the floor. It was nearly 50 years later that I learned the complicated truths behind that moment, behind what that little boy experienced as such a profound rejection. And we all have these stories. It's been years since I've shared that story. But our author reminds us, and I quote, "It is deeply required that we tell our story. We must trace the shape of it, Speak of the place in our body where it still lives. Weep the tears of it. Allow it to be seen, to be known. To have someone know the story of how we came to be here, how we came to be the way we are. Yet there inevitably comes a point when no single story is large enough to hold us. After we have told our story once or twice or 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, it ceases to be a practice of awakening. It becomes a performance. It doesn't move us along the path of healing, and it doesn't open our eyes. In fact, it closes our eyes to anything that doesn't fit our story. So yet again, while these stories may be accurate in a limited sense, describing something of the histories which have contributed to our growth, unfoldment, and development, it seems self-evident yet again that they fail to capture the enduring, fuller reality of what it means to be a human soul. While these stories may be accurate in a limited sense, they are grossly inadequate in a broader sense, or I suppose it can be said that yet again, these two fail to answer this morning's question. In Torah, it's described that Moses was tending the sheep of his father-in-law when an angel appeared in the form of a burning... Oh, it was much better than 9 o'clock. And from this bush, of course, God's voice arose. Moses, I have seen the affliction of my people. I know their sorrow, and I've come to deliver them from the land of the Egyptians to a good and broad land, a land flowing with... Such a good class. So come, I will send you to Pharaoh that you may bring forth my people, the sons of Israel. And of course, Moses famously asked, if I say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, well, what's his name? What will I say? And the answer came, say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me. I like to think of it this way. I like to think that to name a thing is to draw a circle around that thing. And it seems to me that the author of this particular story shares something of this philosophy. It seems to me that the author of this story agreed that of all the names which had been and could be used to draw a circle around what we call God, all were inadequate. That something of beingness itself came closest, or something of I amness itself was most honest. He continues, and I quote, there is a delicate truth in the names of things. We must take great care with how we name ourselves. When we take our name, we are declaring in some subtle, indescribably potent act the most intimate, sacred truth of who we believe ourselves to be. For this reason, many traditional peoples have names they would keep secret, private names that they would reveal to no one or only to those most intimate. Some are shared with only the divine, others only with friends and family. To broadcast our name, to be flippant, or to be unconscious in the speaking of it, is to trample the very holiness underfoot. End quote. So it was the rabbi who answered today's question this way. He said, you are the light of the world. You're the light of the world. And I agree with the author that what wasn't recorded is notable, for he isn't recorded as having said, you are the light of the world if you grew up in a loving, healthy, two-parent family. And he didn't say you are the light of the world if you were never violated. He didn't say you are the light of the world if you never experienced pain. The early authors of now Christian scripture were being persecuted. They were being arrested, tortured, murdered. Certainly they didn't teach, "Be not afraid," the most oft repeated phrase in Christian scripture, by the way. They didn't teach, "Be not afraid," because nothing harmful will ever befall you. It makes no sense. Rather, they taught us that beyond the diagnoses of psychology, beyond the roles of society, beyond the experiences of story, there remains a potent inner luminosity that's never extinguished. And it's alive in each one of us, even in this instant and in this place. So while the human has tended to respond to today's first question with various iterations of "I am the diagnosis I've received," or "I am the role I've played," or "I am the story I've lived," it only takes a moment of willingness. It only takes a moment of invitation. It only takes a moment of welcome for a different voice to rise up within you and to whisper in a loud way and to remind you, "No, you are more than this. You are more than this." So to close this portion of our morning, let us offer such a willingness. Let's offer such a welcome. Let's offer such an invitation. Let's dance with today's question in that realm so often described best by poets and musicians and spiritualists and artists, that realm beyond the intellectualism of words. We call this experience meditation, and here to offer what she calls a chocolate mindfulness meditation. How much do you love that? Would you welcome Elizabeth Nachman, please? Fabulous.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Richard, for that lovely introduction and for your inspiring words, as always. And thank you, ushers, for handing out the props for today. I will ask you to find a chocolate of choice, but please don't eat it yet. That's part of the whole point. So just hold on to it for a minute, not too tightly or it'll melt. So in consideration of this question, who am I? We thought we could look at how we can use these realms beyond intellect to inform our choices. How can we bring that spirit of awareness into everything that we do, like eating chocolate? In answering these questions, this meditation will focus on the idea of choice, that freedom to choose how to act when an emotion arises, whether it's anger or joy, sadness, or even craving. Yes, it is that time of year when those bite-sized candy bars and their evil cousins, candy corn, gummies, caramel, Skittles, Starburst, etc., lurk seemingly in every corner of our lives, tempting us with their sweet bliss. Eat me, eat me. So, in the spirit of this holiday season, today we will practice eating chocolate. Yes, you heard that right. In many meditation classes and traditions, this particular exercise is done with a raisin. Yes, you know it. A single wrinkled, tiny raisin. But this is Unity in Linwood, where we live large and have chocolate. Yay! In my own meditation practice and teachings, I am reminded how the very act of mindfulness can actually transform those neural pathways in your brain to support your well-being. In this case, perhaps helping you experience the moment in all its beauty and chocolate glory, and to perhaps avoid the remorse at sneakily eating all your kids' or grandkids' or friends' or neighbors' trick-or-treat bags. Okay, so as you're all getting your chocolate of choice, I will offer you also this meditation that I like to do because it doesn't take very long. It's 3 breaths. So I'll invite you to close your eyes, paying attention to the in-breath and the out-breath and that space in between. So we'll do the 3-breath meditation now. On that first breath, I invite you to ask yourself the question, what am I thinking? And on your second breath, ask yourself, what emotion am I feeling? And on that third breath, ask yourself, what am I experiencing in my body? So now, as you hold your chocolate, I invite you to consider the cocoa beans that were harvested to make the chocolate. Where were they grown? What did the trees look like? Who harvested the beans? You also might consider, what's the source of the sugar? What other ingredients might be in my particular chocolate? Where was the chocolate made? By whom? Who may have helped to process the chocolate and package it? And who might have driven the truck to get it to the store or stock the bag on the shelf? Just consider all the steps your chocolate took to get here, including the fact that my kids didn't eat it. Now for this next part, you might want to open your eyes as we'll try to use all of our senses in this meditation. First, just look at your chocolate. What does the package look like? Is it shiny? Is it dull? Is there writing on it? Is it inviting? Okay, now let's open it. Is it easy? Is it a struggle? What does it feel like to open it? Can you notice any little aroma eking out as you open it? Okay, take it out, look at it. What color is it? Is it warm brown, dark brown? Is it bumpy or smooth? Are there markings on it? Make sure to get a good sniff of that lovely aroma. Okay, now feel free to break your chocolate in half. And if yours has filling, be prepared to place that piece right in your mouth. Close your eyes again and focus on that sensation of smell and taste. Chocolate can have over 300 flavors. Which can you taste? What is the texture like? Can you hold it in your mouth until it melts? What does it feel like when you swallow? Notice when the flavor starts to go away. And by the way, if you notice your mind wandering, simply try to bring it back to the present chocolate moment. When you're ready, go ahead and take your next bite or your next. And as you savor your last bite, I invite you to close your eyes again and just think about, how was that experience? How did it feel to mindfully eat that chocolate and pay attention? Now let's just sit with our breath for another minute or so. When you're ready, bring your attention back to the room and open your eyes. Let us take a minute just to experience the gratitude for our senses that can bring us such a delicious and wondrous experience. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks again for joining us. Please visit unityandlinwood.org for a preview of all upcoming classes, services, and events, and for an opportunity to make a gift to our community should you so choose. Thank you.